Hey, this is Jonathan Ariel. I'm back with another video in the series on how to set up a Moodle course. Now, last time I showed you a lot of things about how to make edits to the main course page. And I think I mentioned that the next video would be about writing questions and assigning them to a quiz, but we have to take one step back and create categories for our questions first. Setting up categories for your questions will help you unlock a lot of Moodle superpowers later on. But even before that, setting up categories is really just going to help organize your questions in a logical fashion. So the first thing we need to look at is, where is the question bank in Moodle? Now, I may mention this a lot in the videos, but Moodle hides things from you when you don't actually need them at that given moment. And you have to remember that those settings or options that you need are usually buried under a menu somewhere. So I'm going to open the Actions menu. And for the question bank, it unfortunately does not show up in this list. We have to go to More. And then scrolling down to the bottom of this list, you can see the question bank, and we'll open that now. And so it's a fact that most of the questions that you use in Moodle, you're going to have to write yourself. Now, that does sound like a lot of work, and so I want to remind you about two things in Moodle. First, the work that you do in Moodle will always be supported. I have questions for some of my courses that I wrote 8 or 9 years ago, and those questions still work perfectly to this day, even though Moodle has been updated a couple of times, and I've changed Moodle servers I think 2 or 3 times. And so questions that you write, you're never going to have to write those questions over again. Writing questions into Moodle will also save you quite a bit of time making paper copies of quizzes, and then also you won't have to grade them by hand because Moodle will grade most question types automatically. The second thing I'd like to mention is that don't get overwhelmed and think that you have to write questions for every single activity in your course. If you're just picking up Moodle for the first time, it's perfectly okay to write enough questions to get through one quiz for a unit and then come back the next year and write a few more questions for another quiz, and pretty soon you'll have a very full-featured course. Now, I did say that we were going to come back and write questions later, and it's important to go ahead and set up categories. So if you can see right here that Moodle is on the Questions tab for the question bank, we're going to change over to the Categories tab. Alright, so we have no categories yet, and we need to create some that make some logical sense for your course. For me, I like to make a main category for every unit. You can kind of think about a category being the same thing as a folder. So I'll press Add Category. And so right here you can see that the Unit 1 category has been created. Now I'm going to speed things up and make 2 more categories. Alright, so I have my 3 unit categories. One of the first reasons you want to set up categories for your questions in Moodle is so that you don't have a list of questions that might be longer than you can actually see on one screen. After you write a couple of quizzes, you could have 40 or 50 questions, and without categories, they'll just show up in an alphabetical list. It'll be pretty difficult to find which question you want to use on a particular quiz. So I'm going to set up a few more categories just to help further organize my question bank. So I want to create a folder inside of Unit 1, and I want it to be for the notes quiz on my Unit 1 material. So I'm going to say that it's called the Unit 1 Notes Quiz. If I want it to be nested kind of inside the Unit 1 category, I have to change the parent category to be Unit 1, and then I can add the category. So you can see the Notes Quiz category is now living underneath the Unit 1 category and kind of indented. So that means it's a subcategory on Moodle. Now I want to create one more category inside of Unit 1, but let me show you a different way to do it. If you open the Unit 1 category, let me click on that, it takes you to the Question tab, but you're inside the Unit 1 category. If you switch over to the Categories tab, now you can create a new category, but notice that the parent category is already set to be Unit 1. So we don't have to change that. Now I want a different quiz for Unit 1, and this is going to be called the Unit 1 Skills Quiz. So I might have a quiz after a set of notes or a reading assignment, and I would also have a quiz after a set of practice activities. Now this next part, you might not quite realize why I'm going in this direction, but I'm setting up something for a later video that will help you unlock a Moodle superpower. If you think about any quiz that you would give in your class on paper, you would probably be able to boil that quiz down into a small number of skills or ideas that you're trying to assess at that time. And so as you put questions into Moodle, it can be advantageous to set up categories for each type of information or each skill that you're trying to assess. So I want to go inside the Unit 1 Skills folder and then reopen the Categories tab. And I simply want to set up 4 folders. So I'll call this Skill A. I don't know what you teach, and I'm trying to avoid particular subject knowledge and just focus on how Moodle operates. So I'm going to create 3 more folders for skills, but I'll speed that up and just come back when I'm done. Okay, so I've got 4 skill folders that are living inside the Unit 1 Skills quiz. At this point, this video has probably gone on long enough, and it's time for you to do some homework before the next video. Take some time to think about one of the first units that you teach in a course, and then take some time to think about how the question bank structure can be set up in Moodle to help you organize the questions you're going to write for that unit. And then go create those categories in your own Moodle course. Now in the next Moodle video, I'll come back to these categories I've already set up, and I'll show you how to write questions inside those categories. And then after that, we'll create a quiz in Moodle and assign those questions to the quiz. For now, thanks for watching.